In the headlines, Senate debates cash withdrawal limits, asks CBN to adjust policy. Presidential candidates sign commitment to carry marginalized group along. Wife of just deceased mechanic narrates ordeal. And on the foreign scene, crisis hit Somalia. Ethiopia tops AIDS group's watch list for 2023. Hello and welcome to Trust News Update. I'm Darshan Hussaina Usman. And now the news in detail. The Senate on Wednesday urged the Central Bank of Nigeria to considerably adjust its policy on cash withdrawal limits. The Apex Bank, under the new withdrawal policy, restricted the maximum cash withdrawal by individuals and corporate organizations per week to 100,000 naira and 500,000 naira respectively. But the Senate, after considering the report of its Committee on Banking, which engaged CBN chiefs on the policy, urged the bank to adjust the withdrawal limits in response to the public's outcry that trailed it. The Red Chamber also directed its committee to embark on aggressive oversight of the CBN on its commitment to flexible adjustment of the withdrawal limit and periodically report outcome to the Senate. It also resolved to support the Apex Bank in the continuous implementation of transformational payments and financial industry initiatives in line with its mandate in accordance with the CBN Act. The Senate on Wednesday confirmed the nomination of Aisha Ahmed and Edward Adamu for a second term as deputy governors of the Central Bank of Nigeria. The confirmation was sequel to the consideration of a report by the Committee on Banking, Insurance and Other Financial Institutions, which screened the nominees. Ahmed and Adamu were first appointed as CBN deputy governors in charge of the Financial System Stability and Corporate Services Directorate, respectively, in March 2018. President Muhammadu Buhari renominated the duo last week and forwarded a request to the Red Chamber for confirmation. The chairman of the committee, Senator Ubasani, while presenting the report, said the appointment of Ahmed and Adamu was in line with the CBN Act. Moving on to politics, as the 2023 general elections draws closer, marginalized groups such as persons living with disabilities, women and youths are seeking avenues that will make them enjoy intentional inclusion in the coming administration. To this end, they have outlined priorities to be signed and adopted by leading candidates so they could be held accountable when they take office. Noel Sampson has more.
On something as if they are not important. The marginalization of certain groups within the community may lead to social unrest, as has been witnessed in some parts of the country.
The gay policy, having articulated areas requiring immediate, effective reinforcement, will serve as the vehicle through which mainstreamed inclusion of these three demographics become a reality at all levels of governance and indeed all spheres of life.
We have all worked in regards to make sure this agenda is inclusive, with the three organizations carrying out a very wide and extensive consultation from amongst every group in the country to seek their opinion about what counts to them or what is important for them.
Some of the leading candidates made known their plans for marginalized groups when they get to power.
We need to make sure it is documented, it is a law, and everybody will follow it through. That's what Bangladesh did, and it's working. So if you go to Bangladesh today, the Prime Minister is a woman. The head of parliament is a woman. Unless we invest in the youth, unless we put them out of poverty, we're not going anywhere.
And now we're looking forward to a leadership that is courageous from the day one to be able to curb and bury nepotism, so that fairer character will be reflective in how we deploy, how we employ, and how we give appointments. That is where we'll now come in those persons with disabilities, mining areas of concern that will build trust, integrity, focus, oneness, then we're going to have a better Nigerian for it.
One of the biggest challenge of these three major or minority group is the group themselves. Members of those groups will not support the members of the same group. We've had political party where a woman contested as president in primaries, and they had a woman leader, and the woman herself did not get a single vote. Does it mean that women are not there?
Governance is inclusive when it effectively serves and engages all people, takes into account gender and other facets of personal identity, and when institutions, policies, processes, and services are accessible, accountable, and responsive to all members of the society. Noel Samson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Meta, owner of major social media platforms Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram, have pledged to support the Nigerian government in tackling the negative impact of fake news, hate speech, and disinformation ahead of next year's election. Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, said this at the sideline of the ongoing scorecard series of the Buhari administration, which features the Ministry of Niger Delta. Trust TV's Shafiu Suleiman reports.
As Nigeria battles to safeguard the social media space from the menace of fake news, hate speech, and disinformation, especially at the peak of electioneering, Information Minister Lai Mohammed says such collaboration by the social media giant is necessary to address the challenge.
Specifically, Meta detailed the actions it plans to take to combat disinformation and to make political advertising more transparent. The company committed to these actions before, during, and after the elections. This is commendable and is in line with what we have always said, that the platform owners have a big role to play.
Minister of Niger Delta Affairs Okon Umana says the ministry has received from 2015 to date the sum of 178.5 billion naira, which according to him was judiciously utilized to improve the lives of the people in the 9 oil-producing states.
The ministry has completed 553 projects and programs between 2015 and 2022. Some other projects are ongoing at different completion stages in the 9 states of the Niger Delta region.
Though the minister could not readily provide figures of the fund recoveries made from the Niger Delta Development Commission (NDDC) as directed by President Muhammadu Buhari, he said such recoveries are being used to fund critical projects in the region.
That exercise had since been concluded. The reports submitted to government, reports have been reviewed. A committee is working on the white paper, which will be issued very soon. But even as that is going on, Mr. President had also directed that some aspects will not wait until the white paper is issued.
Nigeria's oil-rich Niger Delta region was central to the nation's economic development due to oil and gas production. It has, however, suffered development deficit and environmental challenges despite huge allocations from the central government. Shafiu Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
The British government says it is committed to ensuring a free, fair and credible elections comes 2023 in Nigeria. To this end, it is partnering with the Independent National Electoral Commission to ensure the realization of a smooth election in the country. The political counsellor, British High Commission in Nigeria, Jonathan Bacon, disclosed this while speaking to journalists after a closed-door meeting with the Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike. Bacon, who led other officials of the British Commission on the visit, described the meeting with Governor Wike as very productive. He noted that the British government is always monitoring the situation in Nigeria ahead of the 2023 elections.
A number of meetings, had a meeting just now with His Excellency, the Governor of Rivers State. We discussed how we could further strengthen cooperation between the UK and Nigeria and the UK and Rivers State. We also discussed the electoral period looking ahead to 2023 I reiterated the British government's position that we are supporting the process. We are working very closely with INEC, and we're hoping for a free, fair and credible election in 2023. So we discussed that, and it was a very productive exchange.
Information is vital, but misinformation is destructive to human existence. For this reason, government and other stakeholders are told to give priority to the libraries in the country to curb misinformation, especially on social media. This was stated during Media and Information Literacy Program for Librarians at the Education Resource Center in Abuja. Trust TV's Kabir Lawal has more.
It's always in what? In motion.
The emergence of new media has made fake news and misinformation big monsters that must be fought at all costs. The Youth Initiative for Sustainable Human Development in Africa said the move is imperative to check the inflow of information, to manage, change and also curb the menace of misinformation in social media by youths in the country. Moses Abgara said it is high time people disseminate information positively, calling on parents to encourage their children to make the use of library.
Our position is this: if we can ensure that the trusted sources of information, like the libraries, get quality and credible information, reliable information, accurate information, then it can be a channel through which youths can be reached with accurate and credible information, which they can equally share with their friends.
Library is one of the safest places for people to get accurate and qualitative information. And if the librarians are not well trained or skilled to be able to provide that, then we have a problem.
He added that communication chain, in line with any organization, depends on the principle of management, which helps to define, analyze, and get backup information to help the organization.
Information is also central to helping youth understand what the future holds for them, and it starts with them having that strategic as well as specific information or knowledge that can empower them.
Because technology is changing, we are changing from the way of doing things. So as technology is changing, we are moving our services to the online platform so that people can benefit from. Currently, we are working on our national repository so that Nigerians will have access to our information, because library is filled with so many informative materials.
The library has always been in the forefront of information literacy. So we gather, we keep, and disseminate the information to the public. So whenever you are talking about information, or you need to access information, or anything that has to do with information, I know the library is the first place you should contact.
Others said if libraries are equipped and made functional, cases of misinformation will be minimal. Kabir Lawal, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Justice Bolaji Olajuwon of the Federal High Court, Abuja, has set aside its November 29, 2022 order committing the Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, to prison for contempt. In a ruling on Wednesday, Justice Olajuwon held that there was evidence before her court that the IGP has substantially complied with the court's earlier order directing the reinstatement of Patrick Okoli, who was compulsorily retired as a police officer. Justice Olajuwon held that in view of the development, the application by the IGP seeking the vacation of the committal order is worthy of sympathetic consideration. She set aside the earlier order in view of the substantial compliance with the order of the court and the assurance of ensuring full compliance of the applicant by reinstating him. Okoli was compulsorily retired in 1992 while serving in the Bauchi State Command as a Chief Superintendent of Police by the Police Council, now the Police Service Commission, which claimed to have acted under Decree 17 of 1984, a decision the court voided in the October 2011 judgment. Moving on to security, police operatives in Katsina State have killed 2 notorious bandits terrorizing residents of Dutsama, Safana, Damusa, and Batsari axis. The terrorists who were on the police wanted list were said to have been killed when they attacked Sokoto Rima in Dutsama Tuesday night. They are Abu Namasari and Abu Na Iraki. According to a press statement issued by the spokesman of the Katsina State Police Command, SP Gambo Isa, 2 AK-47 rifles were recovered from the bandits. Already, search parties have been dispatched by the police with a view to combing the nearby bushes to arrest other terrorists who escaped with gunshot wounds. You're watching Trust News Update. Coming up after the break. Fuel scarcity bites harder in Kano. Motorists want government to address persistence. Do stick around.
Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Now, as part of efforts to support Africa's goal of strengthening...
Now, looking at the activity chart, as you can see right here, a total volume of 130...
Created a Boko Haram crisis that at that time was restricted to Yobe.
How secure are they? You can see security men with blood.
This is the road leading up to the...
Already, if you look at English squad, you are looking at EPL, you are looking at their names. You are not looking at...
Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. If you're just joining us, you're watching Trust News Update. Here's a recap of our top stories. We told you that Senate debates cash withdrawal limits, asks CBN to adjust policy. We also told you that presidential candidates sign a commitment to carry marginalized group along. Moving to other stories, wife of the mechanic who was killed by suspected indigenous people of Biafra, Fatima Munir, has explained how she received the news of her husband's death. Fatima, who spoke to Trust TV on Tuesday in Jos, said she received the news of her husband's death hours after she spoke with him in the early hours of Friday morning. Ado Musa reports.
Let Abdisalami was a truck mechanic in Imo State and was killed on Friday in Omunna town of Okige local government area of the state by suspected members of indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, when he was trying to fix a faulty truck in the area. Abdisalami was an unfortunate victim who was savagely killed for not obeying the sit-at-home order that has been enforced in Imo and Enugu states. The deceased was buried on Sunday morning amid tears, with sympathizers condemning his killers, where they called for justice. The wife of the deceased, who was in total disbelief and visibly shaking, speaks.
In the afternoon of Friday, I just heard his elder brother, who is a neighbor, receiving a call. The call signaled that all was not well with my husband. Everyone around was crying. I asked them the reason behind the crying, and they told me that my husband was not feeling fine. But the nature of the crying was not a clear indication that my husband was no more.
Remembering good things about her mother husband, Fatima spoke fondly.
I will live to remember my husband forever. I missed a lot. Only God knows how much I have lost from his death. Whatever I requested from him, he would provide that within the limit of his capacity. I definitely lost an irreplaceable partner.
Family and friends said it is unfortunate how innocent citizens going about their businesses are being killed without anyone to be held responsible. They hope and pray for justice to prevail and call on authorities concerned not to fail them. Ado Musa, Trust TV News, Jos.
Fuel scarcity is biting hard on motorists in Kano as the price reaches as high as 310 naira per litre. Residents want government to find a lasting solution to the situation. This is coming at a time the House of Representatives gave NNPC and others a week to end the scarcity. Trust TV correspondent Idris Jibrin reports that most filling stations within the metropolis remain closed as people say the product is no longer affordable. His report.
For several weeks, motorists in Kano, like many other parts of the country, are suffering from fuel scarcity, resulting to long queues and price hike across many filling stations across the state. Some filling stations that are selling the fuel are selling it at about 320 naira, some up to 400. The situation is pathetic, and people are suffering all over the states. Wherever you go, the queues is too long, and the only thing we can say is let's God help us, and the government needs to do something to control the situation, because obviously we cannot keep on going like this. But petrol stations selling at the official pump price of 184 naira per litre say they try to control the crowd, and in some cases officials of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps are seen trying to monitor the situation. We open our station at about 7 a.m. in the morning, and we are selling the fuel at the official pump price of 184 naira per litre. And like you can see, we don't sell it to black marketers. It's only vehicles, and even the motorcycle that used to enter here, we used to properly check them to make sure that yes, they are who they say they are, and that's how we are selling it here.
The issue of scarcity, we thank God we are receiving plenty truck this time around. So even the queue now, there is no any plenty queue. If you come in the morning around 6 o'clock, by the grace of God, you don't go past 1 hour, 2 hours, you are taking fuel and go.
How much are you selling?
We are selling PMS as 184 naira as a government price. This is NNPC mega station.
According to motorists, 1 litre is now sold at over 300 naira in some filling station, while black marketers sold at over 400 naira per litre. At the moment, fuel price across the commercial city of Kano is increasing virtually on a daily basis, making life even more difficult to the ordinary citizens. Idris Jibrin, Trust TV News, Kano.
Nigeria and Rwanda have become the first African nations to sign the Artemis Accords, a multinational set of principles, guidelines, and best practices that provides a common framework for responsible, transparent, safe, and sustainable civil space exploration. Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Issa Pantami, who signed on behalf of the Nigerian government during the U.S.-Africa Leaders Summit, is hopeful the accord will bring benefits not only to Nigeria as a country, but to all countries in Africa. The U.S.-Africa Leaders Summit is currently taking place in Washington, D.C. Speaking on behalf of the U.S. government, Assistant Secretary of State for Oceans and International Environmental and Scientific Affairs, Monica Medina, urged member nations to remember the tangible benefits that space partnership can deliver for citizens, adding that African nations are not just recipients of those benefits, but active participants and partners in exploration and use of space. Grounded in the Outer Space Treaty of 1967, the Artemis Accords establish a shared vision through a set of practical principles of transparent, safe and sustainable civil space exploration and use launched by 8 nations on October 13, 2020. On the foreign scene, Somalia and Ethiopia, both Horn of Africa nations ravaged by drought and conflict, will be the countries of highest concern in 2023, according to an annual watch list issued by the International Rescue Committee Aid Group on Wednesday. The report lists 20 countries, 11 of them in Africa, that it says are at greatest risk of new or worsening crisis next year and are home to 80% of all people facing severe food insecurity, despite accounting for just 13% of the global population. Top of the list for the first time is Somalia, where the combined effects of 2-year drought and Islamist uncertainty and rising global food price have caused catastrophic food shortages that are killing children and are set to worsen. In Ethiopia, where an estimated 20 million people do not have enough to eat, a ceasefire signed in November between the federal government and forces from the Tigray region after 2 years of war has raised hopes of improved humanitarian access. The other countries ranked in the top 10 on the IRC's 2023 watch list are Afghanistan, Democratic Republic of Congo, Yemen, Syria, South Sudan, Burkina Faso, Haiti, and Ukraine. And finally, in sports, France plays Morocco in the 2022 World Cup semi-finals today, with Argentina to play in Sunday's final at Lusail Stadium. France is the reigning champion and is hoping to become the first team in 60 years to repeat. Morocco is the first African team to reach this stage of a World Cup. They have eliminated Portugal and Spain after topping a group that included Croatia and Belgium. And with that, we've come to the end of Trust News Update. Don't forget to follow us across all our social media platforms. I'm Darshan Husseina Usman. Thanks for watching.